Greetings, legendary readers. Welcome back to Larry's Legendary Library, where I explore science fiction, fantasy, and other bits and bobs. Today, I would like to dive into an interesting topic, science fiction and fantasy stories that didn't end with the original author, but were continued and sometimes expanded by their sons, their daughters, or their heirs. It's fascinating to me to see how these legacies live on, sometimes in ways that fans love, sometimes in ways that raise a little bit of debate. I want to take a look at some of the big examples, maybe a couple obscure ones, and then if you think of any I missed, I'd love to hear about them in the comments. The first one I'll call Tier 1, the big names. The big name, Brian Herbert, continuing Frank Herbert's Dune series. Frank Herbert left Dune unfinished after Chapter House Dune. He did leave a lot of notes, a lot of material that Brian found later. And between him and Kevin J. Anderson, they have written prequels and sequels and fill-in material. It has been a little bit divisive in fandom, but undeniably it's very ambitious. An example of a son carrying on their father's legacy. I have been enjoying reading Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson's books. If you've been following my channel, you know I've been reading through the Dune series chronologically. So that's really what sparked my interest in this subject. Another Tier 1 big name, Christopher Tolkien, carrying forward J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth. Christopher spent decades editing his father's notes. He published the Silmarillion, Unfinished Tales, and then the 12-volume History of Middle-earth. Without Christopher working so diligently, we would know a lot less about Middle-earth. And then the last Tier 1 name I'd like to mention is Todd McCaffrey, continuing Anne McCaffrey's Dragonriders of Pern series. Todd actually co-wrote with Anne, and then he also took the reins fully after her passing. Pern is one of the few long-running science fiction or fantasy series that's officially passed on from a mother to a son. And Tier 2, I'm going to call modern heirs, Rhianna Pratchett and Terry Pratchett's Discworld. Rhianna doesn't write Discworld novels, but she manages the estate. She's involved in adaptations like The Watch, and she's very involved with preserving her father's legacy. An example of stewardship instead of a direct continuation. Another modern heir, not really an heir because the original's still living, but Joe Hill and Owen King, sons of Stephen King. Both Stephen King's sons write speculative fiction. Joe Hill wrote Horns, Lock and Key, NOS 4A2. Owen King, Sleeping Beauties, co-written with Stephen King. They aren't actually continuing Stephen King's work, but they still could in the future, who knows. But they are clearly building on their father's legacy in modern horror and fantasy. And then Trent Zelazny, the son of Roger Zelazny. Trent writes his own horror, dark fantasy, and mysteries. He doesn't touch Amber, but fans see him as carrying on the Zelazny torch and spirit. So there you have it. From the big legacies like Dune and Middle-earth to quieter stories of families making sure their loved ones' worlds lived on. Sometimes these continuations are controversial. Sometimes they're beloved, but they're also always fascinating to talk about. So what do you think? What's your opinion? Are you happy when children carry on the work of their parents? Or do you prefer that the originals stand alone? Please let me know in the comments. I'm definitely interested in hearing what you think. And if you enjoy this video, please hit like and subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss any more legendary content. Until next time, keep reading and keep it legendary.